We talked about borders in the literal sense, particularly relevant for Strasbourg sitting on the France-Germany border. Transport recognises origins and destinations rather than boundaries or jurisdictions. Nobody makes a journey to a border. Congress sessions and demonstrations have shown the many ways in which ITS enables seamless travel for both people and goods. Underpinning much of this has been a sharp focus on ways to ensure interoperability of systems and continuity of services. The borders are disappearing. We looked at borders in yet another way because in transport we tend to think two-dimensional and we forget the third dimension of space. One of our Strasbourg topics is satellite technology applied to mobility. Today's travellers can now expect their services to be available not just within a country, but 24/7, wherever, whenever, however they travel. The borders are disappearing. I'll give some quick comments of some of the key activities within the 6 main Congress topics. I can only do this because of the terrific support from my marvellous rapporteur team. 55% ladies.
Oh, good. Yay!
Who are my universal eyes and ears. My profound thanks to all of them. You'll see all the names in the longer report on the Congress that we aim to issue early in August. There's been much discussion on the practical ways to move from a world of transport to a world of mobility. Some key themes have been legal and regulatory issues, the roles of the stakeholders. Working with the Internet of Things, social media and open information. Making use of a common data layer. Recognising that most technologies are available, the issues are changing behaviour, dealing with security and privacy, plus user acceptance and communicating with those users, and getting the business models right. This came up in every topic. I've commented on next generation goods delivery. The sector as a whole is seeing some major developments, all as a result of widespread real-time information and the proliferation of sensors on all types of vehicle. Cooperative ITS offers many benefits, such as smart parking, delivery zone management, eco-driving, but the industry is still very fragmented, it's lagging in e-business practices, and it's driven by the visible supplier costs rather than a wider perspective of social benefit. It's also still troubled by interoperability issues. We need more work on designing and using better solutions. The Transport Networks topic gave many examples of new services following the growth of vehicle infrastructure connections and the increasing numbers of on-vehicle sensors. Road operators are starting to consider the transport network and the vehicles on it as one connected system, with an increasing focus on communicating with the users in parallel with the providers. Connectivity is spreading very rapidly in this sector. We looked at aspects of satellite technologies. Services for communications, positioning and sensing from space are now available, enabling unbroken connectivity of infrastructure, vehicles and travellers. They're available off the shelf, they are reliable, they are affordable. Tomorrow arrived yesterday. We've had a rich week in the field of connected and automated transport, with an extraordinarily wide range of topics, exhibits and demonstrations. This subject has moved quickly from testing technology possibilities to looking at real-world deployment questions such as how should cities and road authorities prepare? Are the best use cases public transport, mobility as a service, goods delivery, private vehicles? Nobody knows. How do we handle safety, regulation, enforcement, liability, security, privacy, for both the cities and the citizens? How do we counter cybersecurity threats? Does connected and automated transport conflict with cities' goals on social inclusion and quality of life? What infrastructure investments do we need to make a digital world? What are the real benefits for ageing or limited mobility travellers? We cannot tolerate a digital divide. ITS and the environment is on the verge of major breakthroughs. We now have a number of multifunction tools, traffic management and emissions reduction, speed optimising that cuts fuel consumption and noise, parking guidance that saves time and fuel and cuts emission and noise. There's a need for a reference book on the capabilities here. We have plans to deliver one. As these congresses have developed, there's been a strong move to cooperation and integration, reflecting the fourth industrial revolution. The first one was mechanisation, production of textiles. The second was mass production, Ford Model T. The third was, well, still is, digital and location technologies. The fourth is connectivity and data. Connectivity anywhere, all the time, between everything. Data is the new transport fuel. The idea of a European data layer is being adopted. This is a topic I certainly expect to see followed up in Copenhagen. But I do have to say that while the cooperation between the different sectors is far better now than it was even 3 years ago, it's still not as good as it needs to be. Just about everyone seems to want to make a fresh start and not build from the excellent material already produced. This is so wasteful. In the connected and automated driving area, the automotive companies are being rather slow to recognise that the market has changed. It's no longer a world of selling something that operates somewhere on some infrastructure built and supplied by a third party. Connected and automated driving needs a close working relationship with the infrastructure owners and operators, as well as the regulators. And in most countries, that's not the case. The infrastructure owners and operators also need to rethink their approach to cooperation, as there are still barriers to the practical trials that will enable widespread deployment. The argument that regulations can't be decided until every small safety case has been explored is very short-sighted. Would the first heart transplant have happened if the surgeon had been required to demonstrate that it could be done in total safety? How do you prove something safe that's never been done before? The medical world is a well-established hierarchic process: molecular trials, small mammal trials, supervised clinical trials, large-scale trials. We need a transport equivalent. Government regulators need to understand and accept the small additional risk that brings a larger scale societal benefit. Remember the old saying, you can't cross a 3-metre river with 1-metre steps. Sometimes you have to trust and jump. And remember the comment of Commissioner Bulch, let a bold spirit prevail. We've heard a lot about smarter cities and progress towards mobility as a service. Here again, the approach to cooperation and collaboration needs to improve. Transport service providers need to recognise the changing environment, where they compete for a share of a much larger market, rather than work to keep competitors away as they want a monopoly in a smaller market. And you regulators need to adapt too, because in some cases, you're impeding innovation. Stop fiddling with marginal changes to what's permitted. Try the zero-based approach. Imagine all regulations are removed. Then assess critically for 21st century users, 21st century providers, 21st century technology, what regulation is genuinely essential. Remember the 3-metre gap and the 1-metre steps. The barriers to progress are all about harnessing the power of technology as social, organisational, business, administrative, institutional. The social issues are much wider than we ever thought. They range from social exclusion to privacy and data protection. Addressing these